Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia this morning. I hope you're having absolutely a sensational week wherever you are in this planet of ours. I'm here on the Gold Coast, and for our international viewers, you may have seen it on your news over there. We're in the middle of bushfires here that are all around us. I'm probably about an hour away from the firestorm, so it's been very smoky and very hazy here. And of course, our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts and everything go out to all the people that are affected in Australia at the moment with bushfires, because they have been quite devastating, and there's been lots of loss of properties and things like that. So far, no loss of human life, but I'm sure there's been a big toll on our animal life, and that's always the most devastating thing for me, that we start to lose some of our native animals that are really important to our ecosystems here in Australia, as they are globally. So wherever you are in this world of ours, if you've had some sort of weather event or something that you've had to deal with this week, you're not alone. We're all here in this journey together, and we're all sending love and light to each and every one of you. So this week, the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Nine of Cups, and it's actually one of my favourite cards because it's the card of improvements underway, and I think we can all do with some improvements underway in our life at the moment. But we also have to be very careful when we've got improvements underway that we don't start to feel a little bit smug, or pleased with ourselves, and lose the momentum of what we should be sort of looking forward to in our lives. And sometimes I think when things start to go really well in our lives, we forget sometimes to think and look around us that there are other people around us that maybe aren't in such a fortunate position. So we really shouldn't rub their nose in it. And I always believe in, the good times come to show us that sort of when we have the not so good times, that we've got something positive to hang on to. And I like to look at this card as being an inspiration to people around us that may not be feeling so well or not in such a good space. So I think we can share the good times with all this. And as I said, it is one of my favourite cards, the Nine of Cups. So I hope you enjoy the energy of the Nine of Cups this week. So we're going to move on into what's sort of happening around the zodiac this week. And look, we've got a lot of stuff happening this week. On the 14th of this month, we go into our full moon in Pisces. Now, for those of our family that are in the Northern Hemisphere, this is known as your harvest moon. This is where you start to gather all your food stores and put them away for the long winter that's ahead of us, and they call it a harvest moon. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, we're in the opposite time of the year. We're in our spring and summer months, so it's not quite so important to us. But the full moon is something about where we need to be sort of looking at letting go of our emotions. And the full moon is in Pisces this time. So it means that it's the 12th sign of the zodiac, so it's the time when everything that we've gathered up in this last 12 months that we might want to release, we can release now. So it's like get everything together and give it one almighty push out of the road before we start to sort of want to bring in new and exciting opportunities and things towards us that are going to be fresh and new. And that's where we'll be heading next month, is into a fresh new full moon. So that brings me to the candle of the week. Obviously, this week is the full moon candle. So I would be starting to work with this from the 12th. I like to work with a 7-day cycle of a moon situation. So writing 2 identical lists, I'd be writing on my list the 3 things that I want to release minimum, and 3 things I'd like to bring towards me. So I will be starting on the 12th, lighting my candle from 15 minutes to 2 hours a day. I will then go 2 days prior to the new moon, 3 days of the full moon, and then 2 days of the past of the full moon. So that'll take us way through, well and truly past the 20th. So if you start on the 12th, you'll be looking at burning your candle up till the 19th. So the same will be said that we'll be working with the water sign candle as well, because it's the Pisces sort of energy. So again, I like to burn this. This is why I write 2 identical lists, because before I light the candle each day, I read out what's on my list. So this is why I write 2 identical lists, so that I can pop one under each candle, bearing in mind I always put my candles on a cork-backed coaster before I put it on the furniture, because the glass container does get hot, and with the sudden changes in temperature, you run the risk of maybe the glass cracking. Not that I've had that happen very often, probably once or twice in about 20 years, but you still need to be aware of this. We are working with flames and we are working with fire. So we need to be very aware and very conscious of that. So for those of you that don't have enough room for an extra large candle, you can look at one of these little mini candles in our gift box set. This week I've made it up with 2 full moon and 1 water sign candle, but you can make it up with whatever you see fit. You can make it up with any from our 28 in our range. So that's our gift box set, which is a nice thing to be sort of stocking up on as we head towards the festive season, because you can take these little candles out and give them away as individual gifts. They're nice little gifts to give to teachers and people that you don't wish to spend a lot of money on, but you still want to show them that they're special and important to you in your life as we head towards the holiday season, or as a little thank you gift. Okay, for those of you that don't want to work with a candle or can't work with a flame, you can always pick up a milk warmer down at your local department store. These are actually where you take 2 teaspoons of your wax out at the beginning and then add a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon each day. You can leave these going all day because there's no flame and they are electric. You write your list out, pop it underneath the milk warmer as you would the candle, again on a nice cork-based coaster. And that way then you can have the intent and purpose and direction of the candle working in your milk warmer, so working for you all the time. I have one of these burning turned on in my dining room, and I also have one in my office because I like to use my one in my office where I use protection candle wax in there. So let's move on and have a look at what's actually happening astrologically besides the full moon in Pisces that we've already spoken about. But we've still got a plethora of planets sitting in Virgo. Now, I know we touched on this last week. We've got Mars, the planet of action. We've got him holding hands with the sun, which is where the sun is at the moment, is in Virgo. Again, holding hands with Pluto, the planet of transformation. And Pluto's holding hands with Venus, the planet of love and affection. So when you've got those 4 planets sitting within 10 degrees of each other, which is a little bit of a wide aspect in astrology terms, we sort of usually have the cutoff point at about somewhere between 7 to 10 degrees, where we sort of say the energy is not quite as strong. So if we're looking at these 4 planets holding hands, it would be Mars and Venus that wouldn't have as strong a connection as Mars conjunct or holding hands with the sun, and then sun holding hands with Pluto, and then Pluto holding hands with Venus. But they're all doing this dance together in Virgo. So there's a lot of things being stirred up on an emotional level, a lot of things that we need to look at. And we're looking at it through very logical, practical, Virgonian sort of eyes, where we're going over it and 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 searching for answers, trying to get decisions made and sort of put everything into neat little boxes so we can put them up on the shelf. But the interesting thing is we've got what's known as an opposition, or a planet that's directly opposite this, is Neptune sitting in Pisces. So Neptune, of course, will come in contact with the full moon over the next few days as the full moon starts to intensify. But Neptune is the planet of illusion and delusion. So this, in my opinion, is what's creating such havoc around the world with all the turmoil in governments and things like that. You know, we've got the decision of whether or not they're going to go to the polls again in the UK. We see Donald Trump in America is sort of on his usual rantan, sacking people left, right and centre. Here in Australia, they're all, you know, trying to avoid anything that we should be talking about, and we'll resurrect some old issue, the policy that, you know, we bring out every now and then when we're trying to hide what's really going on with the economy. So it doesn't matter which part of the globe that you live in. Just be aware that there is a lot of stuff happening astrologically. We're not necessarily going to get all the answers yet, and don't expect politicians to tell us the truth, because they will be trying to bring in the angle of Neptune, which is trying to deceive us. They're not really trying to they're coming across as being friendly and sympathetic, and yes, I've got you on my sights and I know it's really important, but at the same time, they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So just be very aware and very careful of that. So we're going to go to our famous person of the week. And this week, I'm really excited to say it's one of the world's greatest superstars as far as the big screen. And I don't think there'd be a woman on the planet that probably wouldn't know who I'm going to talk about. And you know, even though he might be a bit young for most of us to be somebody that we'd fall in love with, but we can certainly appreciate great skill and good-looking young man. And I'm talking about the one and only Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, he certainly is the epitome of a male Scorpio, because that really Scorpio sexy energy sort of comes through the screen. But as I was doing my research on Leonardo, it was interesting to find that he hadn't always been the flavour of the month. When he started his acting career, he was very, very young, actually, under 5. So that's really quite a big step in a little person's life, isn't it? He was on the famous children's show called Romper Room, and he was actually removed from the show because he was too disruptive. Now, who would think that a little child somewhere probably between 3 and 4 could be so disruptive on set of making a children's television show that they had to remove him from the set because he was too disruptive? Luckily, his parents still believed in his ability, and he went on at the tender age of 5 to start appearing in television commercials. And, he continued to be in front of the camera in some form or another. And he was very, very young when he started to win industry awards and things like that. So he really is a wonderful role model for people to understand that, if you really have a dream and you follow through, even if you first don't succeed, you just keep trying and eventually you sort of achieve what you set out to achieve. So this is one of the reasons why I think his magnetic energy, that we all fell in love with him, particularly in the film The Titanic. Even though he was incredibly young, he was such a powerful actor in that movie. And it was a very, very long movie, and it must have been a very difficult movie for somebody that was so inexperienced, in a sense, to, spend day after day on the set in something that was going to go down in history as one of the greatest films ever made. So I take my hat off to Leonardo DiCaprio today. So we're now going to take our first caller, and it's Julie in Indianapolis, Indiana. Are you there, Julie?
Hello, yes, I am.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Julie? Hello, Julie.
Hi, yes. I was wondering if you pick up any. Do you pick up anything on my father that has passed?
Sweetie, there's no guarantees I can connect in with your dad in such a short space of time that we've got on the show here. But do you have a particular question I can work with? And if he wants to sort of add a comment, he'll come through that way.
Okay. Will my home be empty anytime soon?
The home that you're living in, is that what you mean?
Yes. Will my home be empty? Will my daughter get a new home and move out of my home, or are they staying?
Okay. There's certainly change coming up for you. I don't know that the change as far as having an empty home is coming quite as quickly as what you'd like to see it, Julie. They're not showing me much before the end of this year at the very earliest. I think it's more likely to be February, March next year, 2020. And I know that sounds such a long, long way off when we're still sort of only sitting in September. But I feel for the moment that it's not so much that your daughter's sort of decided she wants to stay put in your home. It's just she wants to make sure that when she does go, that this is a definite move upwards. You know what I mean? That she's then going to be able to really sort of look after herself and never have to rely on your generosity again of moving back home, even if it's temporary. She wants to make sure that it's done right this time. So I can only take from that sort of maybe in the past she's been a bit impulsive and made decisions too quickly. Is that how she's handled her life?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, well, this time she's trying to be a grown-up. Well, this time she's trying to be a grown-up, Mum. She's trying to sort of really make plans and make sure that she's got a good, solid foundation underneath her. Would it be fair to say that she was the apple of your father's eye, that she could do no wrong?
Absolutely, that's true.
Because I've got a man here in spirit. He's not saying anything to me, but he just had this most amazing look of love and a beautiful smile on his face as I was talking about your daughter. And it was just sort of this, he was just bursting with pride. And it was sort of like, even though he had his arms folded, and that to me indicates that maybe he doesn't want to share too much, but he sort of had this look of such love on his face that sort of like, there goes my girl, I know you're his girl, but, his granddaughter. And I feel now he feels she's on the right path. I think he's taken it upon himself to give her the strength and to put ideas into her head that, it's now time she's got to become a grown-up. She can't keep blaming everybody else or sort of making decisions on the hop sort of thing, that she's got to think about things. She's got to lay down some foundations and some plans. And he's sort of, he's very proud of the progress that she's making. So that's good. So in turn, that's going to make you happy to see her get on her rightful path. And you can sort of take a breather then of, having to be the responsible adult in the room. You can sort of just get on with your own life. But he's also sort of showing me 2020 for you seems to be that you're packing your bags and you're travelling a bit more. So is there some journeys on the horizon for next year?
Not that I'm aware of. I sure hope so.
Oh, well, he's showing me those bags coming out quite frequently next year and clothes being put in them, whether it's just, little weekends away or some longer trips. But you certainly seem to be, the bags are certainly getting a good airing next year, shall we say, being brought out of the closet a lot of times and clothes put in them, and we're off for another journey. So that's good. But I also sort of felt next year, it was as if you're coming into your own, Julie, as if you sort of feel that all the hard work that you've done over the last few years, particularly on yourself, and clearing out people out of your life that weren't necessarily conducive to you, that weren't necessarily giving you anything in return. You seem to be the one doing all the giving. It's like that's now all starting to pay dividends too, because the people that are left are the right people. And I feel now we're going to widen that circle of friends with people that are reliable, and that'll make a nice change too, won't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Can you tell me anything about the man that is in my life right now? If we're going to be together, or is this for good, or do you see us being together?
Look, I see you staying together. I'm going to say that there's days there where you could happily walk away from this situation because you sort of think, gee, I'm sure there should be more than what I'm getting out of this. But at the same time, I want to say to you, this is comfortable. It's solid. I mean, what you see is what you get. There's no hidden surprises. And I think sometimes having something like that there's no hidden surprises, that I can rely on it, I can bank on it, is probably better than having a relationship that's full of excitement and drama and mystery and intrigue and arguments and whatever. I think we get to a certain stage in our lives where we just want peace. You know what I mean? We want something that's predictable, that we can rely on. And that's what I see this relationship is. It's predictable. I can rely on it. He's steady. He mightn't set the world on fire, but does he have to? He loves you. Isn't that the most important thing?
That's it. Yes, absolutely. That is
and I feel the two of you will make a stronger commitment in 2020.
All right. Yeah, that
and
sounds
he's such
good.
a nice man. He's such a nice man. He truly worships the ground that you walk on.
Yeah, he's really a good man. That is true. So true.
Yes, he is.
Do you see anything for, I have a son that's in college. Do you pick up anything on him?
I don't know. I mean, yes, he might be in college and I'm sure he's working hard towards, achieving his dreams there. But I want to sort of say to you, I don't know that he's really worked out the direction he really wants to take his life yet. So don't be surprised if even when he's finished coming out of college and he's got his degree and he turns around and says, oh, Mum, I didn't really like that. I think I'll go and do something else. Don't be alarmed by that, because I think he'll go off, he'll do something else and then realise the reasons why he put all those years of study in, and he'll come back to that. So don't look at that in a negative. He's just a boy that's got a lot of dreams that he needs to sort of touch and taste things before he realises what he really wants.
Yeah, that sounds like him. Absolutely.
Okay, Julie? Wonderful. That's where we're going to leave it, Julie. We've got to talk to Patty now in Edmonton in Alberta, Canada. Are you there, Patty?
Hello.
Hi, Patty. Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
I'm just wondering if there is anybody around me spiritually, or just a general reading would be perfect. I'm a little
It's
nervous.
easier for me, Patty, if you can fire me a direct question, because we've only got such a limited space of time, sweetie. I'd rather answer what's really troubling you.
Okay. Let's see. How about family stuff? It just seems like everything is weird. Like the energy is really weird.
All right, we can look at that, Patty. Look, I think 2019 has been a real sort out. It's been a real thought out year, not just for you, but for, the extended family members. It's like a lot of people have been questioning a lot of things and sort of picking it up, looking at it, putting it down and then moving it over here. And no, hang on a minute, I haven't dealt with that. I better have another look at it and look at it this way. And it just seems like everything's been sort of very disruptive. It's sort of like nobody seems to be able to make a decision and stick to it. I'm pleased to say that energy is going to settle down at the end of this month. And it's like finally 2019 is going to start and everybody starts to get on their path and everybody's got a clear direction as we head towards the end of the year. Was there a question mark earlier this year around whether or not you were going to stay where you are, whether you were planning on moving home or not? Was that something that came up for discussion, Patty?
A couple of times it has, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't know that that's necessarily over yet. I think that's going to resurrect itself again, maybe not this year, but the early part of next year. But what I'm going to say is different then. It's like we've got all the pieces into the puzzle. We know then whatever decision we make then is the right one. Up until then, it's always been, oh, yeah, maybe not. Nobody sort of really wanted to make a final decision. But by about March next year, the final decision's made, and I actually think you're going to move. And I feel it'll be right then because everybody's on board with it, which is good.
Yeah,
but for you personally, Patty, has this year been a year where you've sort of wanted to sort of clear things out of your life that have no longer any purpose?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
Including people, I'm going to say.
Including people, definitely, yes, including people.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing because, you see, again, Patty, that leads me on to, with the changes that are coming up for next year, and particularly the move of residents, it's like we can't take all of the past into the future, into the next chapter. It's like we had to have a clear out and a prune to remove things that were no longer necessary or useful to you, including people, so that when we move into this next era, we go in a very streamlined way, and it's like Patty's the new Patty, the new improved, definite sort of version of this is what I want, this is what I'll accept, and if it doesn't fit into that, move out of the road. And it's like you've learned to say no. Yeah, but you've learned to say no, Patty, and I'm really proud of you. It took you a long time to learn that word no, didn't it? And not give an explanation of why I can't do something.
Very much so.
But you've got it down pat now. It's very easy. You can just say no and move on to the next thing, and people go, but that's not Patty. Well, that's bad luck. It's the new improved version of Patty. And this is where I'm going, and if you don't like it, move out of the road. It's very simple.
That's right.
But, but by being that, but Patty, on the positive side of that, of being so decisive about what you want and what you don't want in your life, it sends a very clear message to the universe. This is what I need. This is where I'm going, and this is what I want to achieve, and I will not deviate from that because I now know precisely what I want. So that's actually very powerful because, you've learnt your lessons you came here to learn this time on earth very, very well. So now we can start to attract to you the things that you need, which is good. And I mean, I'm sure there's quite a few friends and family members still standing there shaking their head saying, what happened to Patty? I just don't understand her anymore. That's okay. They'll learn to love the new improved version, which is good.
That's right.
So,
awesome. It is very good.
And it's very good. And I mean, you're leading a good example for the rest of your family of this is how it's done. If you want to be the best that you can be, then follow my lead.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's good.
Very good.
It's very, very
exactly. Good. It is very good.
I can just see an amazing future ahead for you, Patty. And it's just, it's just going to become easier and easier to say no to what doesn't suit you.
That's right. And it's about time.
Absolutely it is. A packet of gold stars coming your way, Patty. That's where we're going to leave it with, Patty. So I hope you've had an amazing week around this planet of ours. And as you can see by the two callers we took today, people are in times of change and transition. People are starting to sort of stand up for their own rights and letting go of things that no longer suit them. And I think that's what the message of 2019 has been about, is really examining your life under a microscope and looking at what serves you as the individual, the person. You know, it is okay to say no, and we don't always have to give an explanation. And it's one of the hardest words that I think a lot of us struggle with, that little word that has two letters that says NO. And, you know, we always feel this pang of, oh my goodness, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I should have found a way to try and do that thing that person requested. Well, no, we don't always have to. It's about honouring ourselves and being true to ourselves. And sometimes that's the very hardest lesson I think we come here as a soul to learn, is to learn how to be truthful to ourselves. And just because we're born into a family and we have this extended family of relatives and people that we're tied to by blood, doesn't necessarily mean always that we get along with them, that we even like them. You know, there's no law that says we have to love them because we were born into that family. You know, sometimes people need to break away from that because the family situation is too toxic and find their own way in the world and create their own family and people that they gather up along the way as far as friends. So if you've been in that predicament and you've been struggling with it, turn around and give yourself a pat on the back and buy yourself a packet of gold stars and say, a job well done, that you've learnt to use that word no and mean it and learn to be truthful and honest with yourself, because that's what 2019 has been about. And if you can achieve that and sort of tidy up the loose ends connected to that as we head towards the end of the year, you will find that there will be many more rewards coming your way in 2020. And I think that's the important thing, because we're in the last 3 months of the year that we need to be sort of looking at, 3 or 4 months of the year, that we need to be looking at what we have achieved and what we can improve on ready for 2020. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. Until next week, have a great week. Bye for now.